Welcome to Ministry 311, Church Government and Administration. This is Lesson 4, Episcopal Church Government. By the time you finish with this class, you will describe the Episcopal form of church government. This third form of church government we will study is the Episcopal model. One might argue that it is the oldest model after the Apostolic Age and is certainly the most hierarchical or clearly defined with ranks within the structure. This model also shares its name with the denomination, the Episcopal Church, but the Roman Catholic Church is the largest and best known for its use. Leadership in this type of organization typically resides in graduated levels of single persons rather than small groups, usually led by a supreme authority, such as a pope or archbishop. This form gives the local congregation the least autonomy. Primary denominations which hold to this form are various Eastern Orthodox churches, the Catholic Church based in Rome, the Anglican Church based in England, and some Methodist church organizations. Absolute control of all church functions resides in the hands of one supreme leader. In the Roman Catholic Church, this is the Pope. In other churches, it may be another supreme minister or priest of various titles. Having a supreme authority means one person can make decisions and protect against non-orthodox doctrines. Committees often disagree. A single person can make a decision, not without input from advisors, and that decision can be made quickly and efficiently. Post-apostolic history makes this one of the oldest forms of church government. It recognizes the position and authority of James, as described in Acts 15, as well as Titus's role over Crete and Timothy's roles over Ephesus. This form provides for unprecedented unity of structure, style, and doctrine in the operations of the church. One of the key defenses of episcopal governance is found in Matthew 16:13 through 19. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." If you remember, one of the important principles of hermeneutics is that words often have more than one meaning. Key to understanding this passage is finding the meaning of the word rock as it is used by Jesus. The Greek word here is Petra. But who or what is the rock of which he speaks? One definition is that the rock is Peter himself. Jesus used the word Petra, but Peter's name in Greek is Petros. meaning little rock. By this definition, Jesus is going to build his church on Peter himself. The Catholic Church recognizes Peter as the first supreme leader, the first pope, and all others derive their authority starting with him. However, there is a verbal distinction between Petros and Petra. Peter never claims this role in Scripture. Furthermore, Peter himself describes Jesus as the foundation stone of the church in 1 Peter 2, 4 through 8. As you come to him, the living stone, rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. For in Scripture it says, "See, I lay a stone in Zion, a chosen and precious cornerstone, and the one who trusts in him will never be put to shame." Now to you who believe, this stone is precious, but to those who do not believe, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone that causes people to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall. Paul reinforces this idea in 1 Corinthians 3:11. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. The second interpretation, for some, the rock is Peter's confession. Jesus was pleased by Peter's words. This confession established the preaching office that Jesus is the mighty God incarnate, is the basis for the New Testament church. However, some would say that doubt falls on Peter's declaration because of his denial of Jesus' impending death. Thirdly, some interpret the rock is Jesus himself. Petra is used symbolically of Christ in the New Testament. Again, there is a distinction between Peter, Petros, and Jesus, Petra. Of these three possibilities, my favorite is the second, that we as followers of the apostles' doctrine have a church built on the declaration that Jesus is God himself, incarnate in flesh, not a demigod, not a second person, but Yahweh himself, taking on the form of man, the fullness of the Godhead bodily dwelling in Jesus for the purpose of redeeming mankind. The weaknesses of this form are significant. If one adheres to the proverb that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, then all power in the hands of a single supreme authority can certainly corrupt that authority. Who watches the watchman? This reluctance to make decisions at one level without the approval of a higher level discourages accountability and makes the bureaucracy ponderous and ineffective. While it may reflect the history of the post-apostolic church, there exist no clear patterns in Scripture to support such a structure. In this form, the hierarchy or levels of control are sharply delineated. There is at the top a supreme temporal or human authority in the form of a pope, patriarch, archbishop, or other presiding bishop. Below this is a chief regional authority in the form of a bishop or archbishop. Below this is a chief local authority in the form of a pastor, priest, or rector. tightly controlled. At the bottom are the members of the congregation. In preparation for the next class, be sure to read Church Government chapters 2 through 4 and 6 through 7, as well as Church Administration and Organization chapters 3, 5, and 6.